The fundamental shift that needs to happen is that I think for the short term, there shouldn't be ads and we should have to pay a fee to be on social media. Until we can figure out how we can resolve this whole algorithm issue, because obviously these algorithms are super powerful and there are really good things that we can do with them, like super good. But until then, we just need to shut down the ads.
Hey everyone, your host Mahati Rangarajan here. Welcome back to Maharani Talks and to the second part of my conversation with digital marketing expert Jack Sharma, where we sit down and talk about all things social media. If you have come here directly, I'd suggest you check out the first part, as this episode is a continuation of the earlier one. To recon from the first part, some of the topics we talk about are measuring social media success, rise of bot accounts, the role of social media in the US presidential election this year, and Facebook's oversight board. So let's continue where we left off. Like you said, the oversight board, but is it really effective? Because the genocide that happened in Myanmar that's still going on, it's kind of repeated now in Ethiopia. An activist was assassinated in June. And they kind of linked it to Facebook, all the misinformation that was circulated by these political groups. Facebook has constantly said, we are working on curbing the false information. But why is something like this constantly repeating?
Yeah, it's really tough because I have no doubt that the people, and I know people that work at Facebook, and I've been to many Facebook offices around the world. I know many people that work for Facebook, and they are largely very nice people, I don't think they intend to do anything bad in the world. I think a lot of it comes down to it's a bad business model. That's really what it comes down to. I'll come on to the bad business model because I'll answer this Ethiopia thing first. The thing about the Ethiopia thing, it's super similar to Myanmar.
Yeah.
You've got no Facebook staff on the ground. And if you have, you've got very few. So it's not a priority country for them to operate in. They launch the service. They don't really pay much attention, and things can escalate. Now, why do they not pay it so much attention? Why do they have little to no people on the ground? Why is no one monitoring? Because of the business model. And so the business model is set to make advertising on Facebook and Instagram much more cost effective and much more success. They sell certainty. Facebook, Instagram sell certainty. Google sells certainty. What I mean by certainty is I can set an ad on Facebook and Instagram right now. It could be live within the hour, depends on when it's reviewed, but that's literally how quick it can be. And I can set such specific objectives. Like I can set the objective of I want to target people that are likely to purchase my product, or I want to target people that are likely to click to my website. I want to target people that are likely to take a certain action. They're going to engage with my content.
Okay.
And so their focus is on markets where they can make money and that they can sell these ad products that do certain things for them. So, that is their model. That is what they're founded on. Now, in Ethiopia, how many people are going to advertise on Facebook versus in the US or in Canada or in the UK or in Hong Kong or in India? It's big business in India for Facebook.
Yeah.
So they're not going to put much attention to Ethiopia. They're not going to put much attention to Myanmar. The attention came to Myanmar when there was enough press attention to it. And, unfortunately, that took a couple 100,000 people to die first.
That's sad.
Which is a real shame. So, but then this comes to a broader point of the business model. Things need to change. So the one thing I would say when I said that I'm stuck on the whole arbiter of truth thing, the one thing I'm not stuck on is the model. And the problem right now is you sign up for Facebook and Instagram or any, we keep picking on poor Facebook and Instagram. We haven't even talked about TikTok and what they're doing with our data.
Yeah, I know. Twitter and yeah.
Yes. But when you sign up for a social platform, you are giving them the keys to your phone, and they are monitoring what you're doing on the app, and they're monitoring limited things of what you're doing when you're not on the app. If you have voice enablement turned on for some of these social media platforms, then yeah, when your phone is, I know for iPhone, when your phone is plugged in on iPhone, the default setting on your iPhone is when your phone is plugged in to charge, Siri is listening. But you can have it as an option on your settings that Siri is always on. I think that's how I have mine. Mine is that Siri is always on.
Okay.
So that means Siri is always listening. And then on some of these social platforms, they have voice enablement as well, which means that if Siri is listening, then the social platform could be listening as well. Don't know if there's any truth in that, but that's the theory of how it could be. They have the right to. So the knock-on effect is, because the business model is that me as a user, I'm a user. The only other industry that calls me a user are drug dealers. If drug dealers call their customers users, and social media call us users, because we're not the customer, we're not the actual customer for social media. The customer are the businesses and entities that want to advertise. Right now, I've been, for the company where I work, we talk about the election that's upon us. I put ads live. I'm in charge of ads going live in 16 countries around the world.
Okay.
One of those countries is the US. In October, the cost for us to advertise in the US just went through the roof. Like the cost per click, or the cost per view, or the cost per whatever on Facebook and Instagram. And the reason for that is because the two main candidates there are buying a ton of ad space. If you think about Facebook and Instagram feeds as a magazine, there's only a certain number of ad spaces available in a magazine. There's only a certain number of ad spaces available in Facebook and Instagram. The cost for me to get our ads placed in the US went up astronomically, because these political candidates know that the business of Facebook and Instagram and Google is that they sell success. And if they want to target people that are likely to take a certain action, it is way more cost effective than television,
right,
way more cost effective than radio, and way more cost effective than even them running these rallies where they go and present to the thousands of people. That's how powerful it is right now. And really, the fundamental shift that needs to happen is that basically there shouldn't be ads on social media. I think for the short term, there shouldn't be ads, and we should have to pay a fee to be on social media. That is until we can figure out how we can resolve this whole algorithm issue, where the algorithm knows you better than your own family knows you. I remember when I was at Mondelez, there was a story that's going back 6 years now. There was a story of a father of a teenage girl logged on to his teenage girl's phone or laptop. I don't know, the story is 5 or 6 years old now. And he kept seeing all these ads for like expectant mothers and like stuff that you do as you're pregnant and you're preparing for your baby and stuff. And he's thinking, but my daughter's like 15. Why is she getting served all this stuff about a mum to be?
Yeah.
And, it turned out that social media and Google knew that his daughter was pregnant before he knew. It's devastating, obviously, to find out if your 15-year-old daughter is pregnant, but it's even more devastating to find out that Google and Facebook know before you.
Yeah.
And so the point is, until we figure out what we're going to do about, because obviously these algorithms are super powerful, and there are really good things that we can do with them, like super good. But until then, we just need to shut down the ads. And we can look at how that model works. You look at Netflix, there are no ads on Netflix. They still use the algorithm to recommend programming to you. But, these are not things that encourage you to go out and kill your neighbor or to go and take down a certain political system.
Yeah.
And so the model of Netflix for now is much safer. Now I recognize, and there's stuff out there on the internet as well about questioning perhaps stuff that Netflix does, and I recognize that no company is perfect, but I'm just buying into the subscription model of, okay, what if I did pay $10 a month for my Instagram account? Would I still pay for it? Yes, I would. Now, the only downside to that is, and the thing that I don't have the answer to there, is people that can't afford. Because for some people, and this is where we have to figure out a way to help those people have accounts. For some people, for them, $10 for a Facebook account a month, $10 a month is too much.
Yeah.
And then they can't afford it. So then that's dangerous as well, because then we create a world where the internet is free, so to speak, but then they can't access the thing that everyone is on. So then automatically, it's almost like you're not letting someone have a phone, like a landline phone, like you're not letting them have like a basic thing, or you're not giving them access to something that they should have. They should have some level of access to, and it might be the only, to a lot of people, Facebook's the only way that they communicate with family around the world, Facebook Messenger, stuff like that. So that's where it gets tricky. And I think, there needs to be a way that those people can have access as well. I don't have the answer to that. But my point being is that I think until we can figure out agreed international laws around the use of data and around the use of algorithms and how algorithms are used on us, I think social media platforms should go to a subscription model. That's what I believe.
Okay.
And I don't think that's a long-term answer. I think that's a short-term answer, because I don't want to see, like, we're seeing it around the world. The divisions, like the country I was born in, the divisions in the UK, like you're either on one side or you're on the other side, and you cannot meet. Like, you cannot have an adult conversation and say, okay, politically I think this, politically I think that, but hey, we can still be friends. And my understanding of stuff going on in India is, it to a level, it seems quite scary as well. It seems that there's divisions there as well. There's divisions in Hong Kong as well. There's divisions in the US. There's divisions in so many countries around the world. It's almost like, well, you believe this and I believe this, therefore we must hate each other. Like, how did that come to be? It didn't come to be until social media became a massive deal. And so we have to make a fundamental change, I think, at least for the short term, while we figure things out.
So at the moment, with the current business model, say for a user like me, how can I circumvent this? What can I do on social media to ensure that the information that comes to me is not one-sided?
Oh, okay. There's a few things you could do. So the easiest thing is to delete your accounts. That's the honest, easiest answer. And there are so many arguments for deleting your accounts. And again, it comes back to, I recognize that actually being able to delete your social media account is a luxury, because it comes back to my point of, there are some people that really can't delete their accounts. If they have family in Canada, for example, and the only way they communicate and keep in touch with them is via Facebook, then it's kind of like, I get it. Like, it's not like that maybe they can't afford the luxury of buying lots of international phone minutes, or doing video call. So I recognize that for some people they don't have the luxury of being able to quit. But if you really want to not go into that pack mentality and have your real kind of a clear mind, and to have your honest view on the number of jelly beans in the jar, then you should quit social media. And that's me saying it as a social media professional. The only way to get out of it is to get out of it.
Okay.
But the stuff I do, so more practical tips, I suppose, rather than quitting. So the stuff I do to limit the impact social media has on my life. Now, literally, because I work in it, I'm on it every day professionally. What I've done personally, and it was hard for me to do this, but I did it, I limit the amount of time I'm on. I really limit the amount of time I'm on social media. I went through a period of trying to build my Instagram account, and I was enjoying it. I was making these like 60-second social media videos, and they're still on my Instagram account.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah. And I used to post quite regularly, and I built a small following, but sizable. And all of a sudden I just thought, this thing is killing me, because I'm in work all day and I'm living in social media, and then I come home and then I'm at home on social media. It's great when you get followers, and then you've got people that private message you, and I love talking to people that private message me, and I'll always respond. And then, you get into a bit of a relationship with some of these people because they're telling you their problems, and then, you have conversation and back and forth, and it's great. But then eventually it's like, wow, my entire life is social media. And then when you get that thing on my iPhone on a Monday morning, it tells me how much I used my phone in the previous week. And then you can click into that and you can see it. And I was on a crazy amount, my social media accounts, a crazy amount. So I pretty much stopped tweeting. I wasn't a big tweeter anyway, but I pretty much stopped tweeting, and I just occasionally log on and retweet. I hardly post on Instagram now. Lost a lot of followers, but I hardly post on Instagram. I seldom post on Facebook. Actually, Facebook now I've managed to limit to Sunday is my Facebook day, where I log on and I'll scroll the feed from my laptop, and I'll scroll the feed for ages.
Okay.
So practical advice number one is to limit your usage. Practical advice number two is don't take anything you read on social media at face value. So when your friend or family member shares something and it says that this happened in the news or that happened, always take it with a pinch of salt. Even if it's like your brother or your sister or whatever, it's like, okay, take it for what it is, because you don't know the source of that. You don't know, it could be true, it could not be true, but take it for what it is.
Yeah.
Try and take it as a kind of a form of entertainment. And if it is a really harrowing story, then really think about questioning whether this is truth or not. The point is, don't take anything too seriously on the platforms. Any action you take, it is logged and it is used for you for targeting afterwards. And it's funny, you'll take an action and then it's used as part of your database. So you'll then be served ads that correlate to that.
Yeah.
So don't take action on any ads that you don't want to be retargeted for. If you click, then that's it. If you click on an ad, then that's it. You're going to get retargeted, and you're going to get targeted by brands or companies or other political entities that are similar to that. So whatever action you take on social media, it has a reaction. And because I work in social media, I can give funny examples of this stuff that happened to my feed.
Okay.
The algorithm definitely cannot figure me out, because for a while I helped a company that was selling feminine hygiene products. And so I was helping them. And then, of course, on my personal account, I'm doing stuff for them as well, testing stuff and left, right, and center.
Right.
And even though I'm male, I'm getting served feminine hygiene product stuff. Then more recently, I was helping a brand with things like on gender diversity, gender equality, and then specifically for LGBT rights, I was helping out. And then for like the next 3 months after that, I kept getting served ads for like gay dating sites. It's fine, but it's funny.
Yeah.
So my point being is that if you take an action on social media, there will be a reaction, and the algorithms are always trying to figure you out and calculate you. And so limit your usage, limit what you do before you do anything. Even if you have a friend that shares something about a political view that you have a completely opposite view on, and it annoys you to the point where you think, I've got to comment on this. And imagine they shared, and it's almost like they did a Facebook share of an article. If you comment on that article, right, even though it's on your friend's feed and you commented on that, the algorithm will think, okay, you like political stuff, and you react to when it's political stuff of this nature. So we're going to serve you more political stuff of this nature, because that gets a reaction out of you. So if you react, it reacts back to you. So I can't believe as a social media professional I'm saying this, but limit the amount of time you use it. And when you are using it, engage less.
Okay.
Like stuff less, comment on stuff less, because if it's a nice photo of your friend's pet dog, that's fine. But, I'm just thinking on the stuff that is exaggerated.
So basically keep calm and do social media.
Yes, keep calm, but do it carefully. And just a third bit of advice is, probably leads on from your keep calm, is don't get involved in an argument. It's not worth it.
Okay.
Even if like a friend of yours comments on your post and says, you used to be cool and now you're not cool anymore. What's wrong with you? Like, there's no point in getting involved in an argument. And you might be able to think about in your own mind of, well, they've come onto my photo that I posted and they've given a negative comment. It's like, no one's going to win from that. That person has put a negative comment about you on you. As long as it's not disparaging. If someone comments and says something that really just isn't true, they said, "Oh, I witnessed you ran over a cat yesterday and then you drove away." And if that's simply not true, of course, defend yourself. But if someone just says something just to poke at you, and if you can just take a step back and think, who's going to win from this?
Yeah.
Well, they're not going to win, and they're obviously already unhappy, and they're making me unhappy already just from reading this. And by me responding, it's actually going to make me less happy, because I'll respond and I won't be able to get on with my day, because I'll keep refreshing my feed every 20 minutes to see, have they responded? Have they come back with their witty response? Have they come back with their way of saying something super negative to me? It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Don't reply, or if you do want to reply, do something that'll diffuse it, like just do a winky smile or whatever and just get on with your life. Like, it's not worth it. Not worth it.
That's true. So I don't know if you've seen the movie The Social Dilemma.
I have.
It was really interesting to watch, and it was an eye-opener for me. But it does not address the concerns of small creators and small business owners for whom social media has become so important. Do you have something to add to that? How is it the platform for such people?
The Social Dilemma is great, and I encourage anyone to watch it. And you're spot on, because it talks about the wider problem. And they even give an example in there where one of them is a former Google employee, and he did this whole manifesto, which he sent around the company about how they could change. It got a lot of traction. Even the very senior executives saw it. People thought it was a great thing. And then all of a sudden, nothing. And they carried on as normal. And so that's a real sign that nothing's really going to change in Silicon Valley until they're forced to change. Why would they change? Their business model is super highly profitable. They're among the richest companies in the world. Google and Facebook are super, super wealthy. Why are they going to change their model? They're not until they have to. So that's not going to change. Big businesses are surprisingly stuck with social media, as are small businesses. And we see cases every now and then. Procter & Gamble or whoever announces they're not going to use social media.
Yeah.
And then they don't for like 6 months. And then they come back on it for 18 months and they go back off it. Because the reason why these big companies come on and off it is because they hate that they're kind of stuck with it. And then they resent that. And then they want to have the power back. And they come off of it, but then they realize, oh, actually, we can't survive without it.
Okay.
Can you imagine if you're a company and you're not giving money to Google each month so that your brand comes top of the search results when people search for your brand? Because if you're not bidding on Google SEM, if you're not bidding on your brand's keywords, someone else is. So if your company's name is whatever, company ABC, and you decide, oh, I'm not going to advertise on Google, I'm not going to do Google search engine ads, then your competitor, company DEF, is going to bid on your company's name, and then they're going to appear top for their own company's name and your company name. So we're all at a slave in that respect to Google.
Yeah.
Brands bid on other brands all the time. And Google's advice is, if that happens, because what actually happens is, if another brand bids on your search term, it actually pushes the cost for your brand search term higher. Because let's say if you're bidding and you're paying, let's say 20 cents every time someone searches for your brand name, but then a competitor bids for your brand name as well, all of a sudden the cost to be number one suddenly goes from 20 cents per search to 27 cents per search.
Right.
And then Google's advice is the way to stop other brands from bidding on you is to reach out to them, to try and do a deal, to try and stop them from searching on your brand term. And if that fails, then you end up searching on their brand term as well, and then it just becomes vicious. So even big companies have this problem. So when it comes down to small companies, I think it really depends on what the company does and how important getting business via online marketing is to them. Because let's not escape the benefits of online advertising.
Yeah.
It's incredibly cheap. It's compared to other, it's still cheap. It's not as cheap as it was, but it's incredibly cheap compared to other platforms and other ways to advertise. It's greatly targeted. There are still organic ways to get traction, for good and for bad. If you're the doctor that pays for link clicks so that your website appears top, you're not paying Google, you're paying some third party to help you get that. So it's still cost effective for a small business to do that. The challenge that a small business faces is they will become a slave to it. I have a tailor in Hong Kong, and his challenge is he is stuck. Like, he's just a small tailor. He has one small shop. He has to do Google AdWords every month. He has to. End of story. He has to put a certain amount of money. It's not like the days of before the internet where it's like, okay, maybe I'll advertise in the newspaper this month. And maybe I'll do a 3-month deal with the newspaper.
Yeah.
It's like, well, no, I have to be on Google. Otherwise, I don't exist. And that's the scary side of it. So there's a big benefit to it, and it's still cost effective, but it is like a drug. Like, once you start it as a small business, you have to almost commit to a certain level every month, and you cannot stop on it. And I'd say Google is stronger than Facebook in that, because if you're a business, it makes sense. Like, if you're going to search for something, if a potential customer is going to search for it, you kind of want to be on Google, because you want people, if someone's going to search best dentists in Chennai, and if you're a dentist in Chennai and you want to be known as one of the best dentists, well, you're going to buy on that search term, best dentist in Chennai. Like, you want to be one of the best. So it's tough. It is tough. So for small businesses, I would say, think about what you want to achieve. Actually, what do you want to achieve? What are your business goals? If your business goals are sales, then people are in more of a sales mindset when they're on Google. So just stick with Google and say goodbye to a certain level of money that you're comfortable with each month to Google, and just accept it and see the results that come through. Because actually, when the dentist example, people search for dentists when they really need a dentist. So it's good business probably to advertise on Google. If you're a dentist, you probably don't need to be buying Facebook and Instagram ads. So, because that's the more inspirational style ads, mostly, like, not necessarily when people really need a dentist there and then. But if you're a dentist that wants to also become known as a great dentist, then maybe you want to do a YouTube channel, and maybe you want to do 5-minute videos. You want to do one video a week about dental hygiene and what you can do and what you can't do and things like that. But that's not ads per se. That's you making the effort to make good video content.
Yeah.
So my advice would be, look at what the single most important objective is for you as a business, and just be honest with yourself. There's a lot of business owners, they'll say that they just want people to be aware of their business, but actually no, they actually do really just want sales. Because what's important, like, and then just be honest to yourself, and then just go after that. So if it's sales, then fine, do Google. And if you want to inspire people for the future, start a blog or a vlog or a podcast, a YouTube channel, fine. But if you want to do something a bit more inspirational, if you're building a brand, then you do some awareness campaigns. You can put them on Facebook, put them on Instagram, and then still do some sales campaigns through Google, through Facebook, through Instagram. It's finding that mix, and also just being aware that it can be a bit of a rabbit hole. And every platform you start on, you are going to have to invest some level of money and effort into it.
Yeah.
And so realize that you don't need to be on every platform. Think of your business, what your business goal is, and just go for that.
That's right. Yeah. What about in case of small creators? I know, for instance, you don't post often because unless you have something of value to post, that's when you post.
Yeah.
But in Instagram, I actually have the worry that if I don't post often, I'm going to lose followers, which I don't have that same worry on LinkedIn.
Mm.
So is that again obviously a way for the platform to suck you in? And how do you balance that? Do you really need to post 3 to 5 times a day?
It's a real shame, but the pure social platforms, the Instagrams, the Facebooks, TikToks, Snapchat, Twitter, they will reward the people that are consistent. So if you post consistently, if you post regularly, they will reward you. And I did this test myself. I have this test going on for the past 2 weeks where, because I noticed I just stopped posting, and I thought, well, how quickly would it take for me to get that back? So I've just been doing IG stories. Today was the first time I didn't do one, but for about the past 2 weeks, I did like 2 IG stories a day, and I went from the first couple of days where I had 500 people see the IG story just to test my theory, and to yesterday, my IG story was seen by 1,800. So, and I was doing two a day for 2 weeks because I still have the follower base, but it's like I'm not going to appear when I stop posting. I'm punished because I
Yeah.
was bad. I was bad because I stopped posting, and so they punish me because I'm not posting. And then when I start to get regular again, then they start to reward me. So the truth is, if you really want to be big on Instagram, and if you really want to be big on Facebook, you have to post super regularly, a couple of times a day, in one way or another. So on IG, one post on your feed a day, and then at least 2 stories a day, at least. Um, there's so many other tricks within that. I'll list some very quickly. On your IG stories, always put hashtags, because in the discover section of Instagram, you could appear on that. On IG stories, lots of people don't put hashtags in their IG stories.
Yeah.
Put hashtags in your IG stories. Interact, make your IG stories more interactive. Ask people questions on the IG stories, where you get people to vote one way or another, ask a question, have things like that. Make the IG stories interactive, because if people respond, then the algorithm thinks that your IG story is worthwhile and it will show it to more people. On your post, make the content something that can be interacted with again. So ask a question in the copy, make the content interesting so that people want to engage with it.
Right.
Get if you post a carousel on your feed, make it so that people want to swipe through it, because the algorithm will notice that and they'll think, okay, this obviously was a good enough post, and they'll serve your organic post to more people. So there are things like that, but posting super regularly, if you really want to grow, you can. The problem is, again, it's like, as I said, it's a magazine feed, Instagram.
Yeah.
So there are more and more people joining Instagram. So there's more and more competition for attention. There's only a certain amount of time people spend on the platform each day. Even if it's hours, it pretty much stays the same amount of time people spend on each day. So for you to appear suggested to people, if you to grow your follower base, is harder now than ever, and it's only going to get harder. So we have that issue. Instagram tested in New Zealand and maybe Australia as well to stop showing follower numbers. And they got this, they were testing it. I don't know if they still are. But they got the idea from Snapchat. So from day one on Snapchat, you could not see the number of followers you had, and you could not see the number of followers other people had. So even like super big celebrities on Snapchat, they could click on their follower tab and you could scroll through your number of followers, but it wouldn't show you the total number. And each time you loaded up that follower list, it would show the followers in a different order. It wasn't alphabetical.
Okay.
So if you're like to a certain level, if you have like 200 followers on Snapchat, you can go through and count. If you have enough time, you can go through and count that in one go. But it gets to a point when you've got too many that you're like, I can't keep up. And then, you just don't know. And then you have these third-party services that estimate the number of followers that certain people have on Snapchat. But the knock-on effect, the benefit of that is that it makes people care less. I know Snapchat isn't as big as any other platforms, and it's quite niche actually. But the appeal to Snapchat was that it got people to really just just share stuff and not really care so much about the impact it had. This is sharing your life. IG stories, Facebook stories, it was all stolen from Snapchat. Snapchat were the original story place.
Yeah.
And so, it just share stuff, share and enjoy for what it is. Who cares if 15 people see it or 1,500 people see it? So yeah, to grow on those platforms, it still needs to be the same way. LinkedIn, correct. You don't lose connections in the way you do with the other platforms. But LinkedIn today is in a super interesting place, because LinkedIn today is kind of where Facebook was in 2011, 2012. Now is a great time to grow organically on LinkedIn, to grow your network on LinkedIn. The only downside to LinkedIn now, which is starting to creep in, which didn't really exist before, is that you've got more people sharing kind of the kind of stuff that's kind of how can I put it? It's engagement for engagement's sake.
Okay.
It's like you get people that are sharing stuff on LinkedIn that isn't really helpful to do with career and jobs. They share stuff that is just kind of it's interesting, it's fun, but does it belong on LinkedIn? You get people that share stuff that's quite funny or quite memey, or perhaps even stories that are questionably true. We've all seen them on LinkedIn, like stuff where people say, "Oh, I had a candidate turn up. The candidate was covered in mud. They looked terrible. They looked all shaky. I gave them a chance anyway, and I gave them the job. And it turns out that candidate, on the way to the interview, their car had broke down. They had to change the tire themselves. And then another car drove past and splashed them with mud. But I still gave them the opportunity. And 6 months later, they turned out to be the best person I ever employed." And it's like you get stories like that quite regularly on LinkedIn, and I do question the validity of some of them. I do think, okay, is this engagement for engagement's sake? So I do worry the direction LinkedIn could be going. But for now, organic growth on LinkedIn is great. It's a great place to be. Organic growth on TikTok, and it's funny that I mentioned TikTok because it's banned in both of our locations. It's banned in Hong Kong, it's banned in India.
Yeah.
But if you're in a location where TikTok is available, organic growth on that platform is still tremendous. If you just do engaging content, they will let you be seen by many. It comes back to your question of how much you have to post. It comes back to how big do you really want to be on that platform? Is that platform really you? Is that where you should be? And is that where you should be big? Because if your audience isn't on Instagram, then you don't need to be on Instagram. Maybe you need to be bigger on LinkedIn. Maybe your stuff is way more thoughtful and thought-provoking. Maybe you need to be on Twitter. Maybe that's where your audience and the people that are gonna respect what you do is more, that they're gonna be there.
Yeah.
If you need to be big on Instagram, it's still a numbers game. Instagram, Facebook, it's still a numbers game.
Okay. You earlier spoke about how influencers have play a huge role now in terms of marketing. And you also said how many of them have given into fake followers. In fact, now there's a certain amount of the term influencer has a certain amount of derision attached to it. How do you see the way forward? I mean, is there a better way you think they should be more transparent?
There will be an influencer bubble, and it will burst, because anyone out there right now who is young, super young, and their aim is to become an influencer, I think take a real hard look at what you're looking to do and the value you want to bring to the world, and really go, anyone who wants to do anything, go for it. But please be mindful that this isn't going to last forever, and the chances of you becoming a big time influencer it's really against you, and it's only going to become harder. And the reason for that is because we're in this world right now where you've got people that are influencers for no reason, like influencers for influencers' sake. And it's a shame, because I applaud, like, whenever I come across people that stand for something and are offering real value that I learn from, I love that. I love all of that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you get a lot of people that post stuff because they want just people to follow them because they portray that they have a really wonderful life, a really interesting life, that they are seen in all the hip, cool places, and that they wear the best clothes or the best jewelry, or they do whatever in a certain way, and that therefore other people should look up to them. That is dangerous. It's dangerous on many levels because those people that are posting all of that, that is not their life. They are just taking pictures and photos and videos, and they live a very normal life apart from that. I know an influencer who posts about luxury goods and that they live a luxury lifestyle, and that they even do reviews on YouTube of all the luxury stuff that they try and everything.
Okay.
But I assure you, I know them separately to their channels. I don't know them super well, but I know them. They live a very ordinary life outside of their channels. That they are not a super happy person separately. It is all for their feed, and the influencer. The reason why I say the influencer bubble will burst is because people are waking up to it. They're waking up to, we can't actually trust everything an influencer posts anymore. If an influencer
Yeah.
says that they use a certain, I don't know, certain type of pills or a certain type of potion or a certain type of whatever, we can't say that there's truth in that. We can't say that the products or services they recommend are actually any good. In the end, influencers have to to be a top influencer, that's your job 7 days a week. You don't have another job.
Yeah.
You have to really dedicate it. So then they have to make money somehow. So if they're not selling products for someone else, then they have to sell their own things. They have to write a book, or they have to create some kind of online service that they can sell. Now, the challenge comes down to us as people. It comes back to my point about when you're on your social media feeds, you yourself have to make your individual assessment and judgment over, okay, this person is authentic. They seem pretty legitimate about the stuff
Yeah.
that they post and they talk about. Well, this person isn't. So I think as a person thinking about influencers to follow, think about the right kind of people to follow. For people that want to be influencers, pick what do you believe in? Like, what do you love doing? And then do that.
Right.
Don't do something that you think other people will think that is cool. Like, a lot of people think, okay, I'm going to be an influencer, I'm going to start a TikTok account and I'm going to do loads of funny videos. But if that's not you, then you'll get like 5 or 6 videos in and you'll be like, oh my god, this is a real chore, this is really hard to do. Or you might think, okay, I want to be big on LinkedIn and I want to write really thoughtful articles, and I want to really thought-provoking, intelligent articles. And you write the first couple and you're like, god, this is hard work. I never thought I'd be a writer. It just isn't me. Then don't do it. It's not you. Like, certainly dabble with stuff if that's what you're going to try, but don't dedicate yourself to stuff that isn't you.
Yeah.
If you're like, even if it's like super nerdy, if you're like into collecting whatever baseball cards, if that's your thing, then that's what you should do. And if only 6,000 people end up following you, those 6,000 people will know that you absolutely love baseball cards and that's what you love talking about. And that's my advice to people that want to be influencers. But don't do it thinking that you can make an entire career out of this, because it is going to change. It really is. Because if we just think of the maths behind it, the organic reach we're going to have on posts, it diminishes on channels every day. And then new channels start. And then if you're an influencer that's big, if you're an influencer that was big on Facebook 10, 12 years ago, you had to migrate your followers over to other channels. And they did. They migrated at the time. You had all these big Facebook influencers that migrated to Vine and migrated to Pinterest and migrated to Instagram.
Okay.
And then Vine didn't survive. And then Pinterest became a niche thing. Like, it's big for what it is, but it's niche. and Instagram became the thing. And now Instagram is reaching this thing of like so many people are going onto it, and it will reach a similar plateau like Facebook, and it will have to be the new thing. And new thing people thought for a while was going to be Snapchat, and then people tried Snapchat, and it wasn't the new thing. And then people thought TikTok is going to be the new thing, and now it's questionable for TikTok because they're not available everywhere. So, but something new will come along. So, as an influencer, it gets very tiring because you'll always have to migrate your follower base across to a new channel, because the channels you exist on, the organic traction of your content will diminish. And yeah, you have to be consistently posting. It's tough. So if you're going to do it on something you really love and that you're willing to dedicate yourself to. Otherwise, don't do it. Get a job and enjoy your life.
Yeah. What are your predictions for social media in the coming decade? Do you think government norms will step in? Like, I know, for instance, in June, Facebook lost an antitrust decision in Germany, which meant that in that particular country, it had to alter how it processes the user's information data.
Yeah.
So you think more such countries going forward that way?
Yes, very much so. And I can say why. So I'm generalizing here, but we are governed by older people.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the current older people of the past 10 years didn't grow up with social media, didn't understand it, didn't understand the impact it had. I mean, when Mark Zuckerberg faced the Senate committee a couple of years ago, they were asking him, I mean, there's video on YouTube for it. They were asking him such funny questions that like any normal person knows. Like one of the Senate people on the committee asked, well, how do you make money? And then he was like, oh, well, we sell ads. It's like really simple questions they were asking him. So the current older people that govern us in most of the countries we all live in, they don't get this. And so this is why it's been unable to be policed or judged accordingly.
Yeah.
It will change. Germany, you mentioned, there's the whole GDPR thing in Europe. So GDPR is about data protection. And that is coming into question now. About Facebook in Europe is headquartered in Ireland, and then data is shared from Facebook Ireland to Facebook in California. Under European Union directives and GDPR laws, it's questionable if that's allowed. Is that going to protect? Is that protecting people's data? So there's even a question of how Facebook and Instagram currently operate in Europe. Is that even allowed?
Oh.
So things will definitely change in terms of privacy controls, but political parties are that. They are political parties. And if looking back at the 2016 election, the US election, Facebook offered Facebook staff for free to go and work in the main offices of Hillary Clinton and the main offices of Donald Trump. The Clinton campaign refused and said, no, we don't need your staff to come and work in the campaign office with us. We're fine. And Trump team said, yes, come, send your people. So the point is, politics is politics, and people can be swayed. And if Facebook and Instagram say, okay, we'll adhere to your data laws, but why don't we work with you as well? And why don't we do this? And why don't we do that? And why don't we look for ways forward? So things will change, and there will be. No one wants to see the unrest that we've been seeing in so many countries. That needs to curtail. Even stuff with the Black Lives Matter movement in the US, a lot of that is spurred on by social media, and then a lot of the objections to what the Black Lives Matter movement stands for is coming from social media as well. So no one wants to see this rubbing to continue, and these disagreements to continue. So there does need to be a calming, and data is part of that. So we will see tighter controls on social media, seemingly over the next decade.
Okay.
But I don't think it'll go. I suspect it won't go far enough, and that's what makes me sad. And at the rate technology is changing, we are literally about to enter an age where we will live in a blended world, where we will live in a world where there's reality, there's augmented reality, and there's virtual reality, all rolled into one. And 10 years from now, in 2030, that is where we will be. And by that, I mean, it could be, as I'm getting all sci-fi now for a second, it may not be this far, but it could be as far as we are walking down the street with glasses on or contact lenses, and we are literally seeing the world augmented around us. You know, Apple will have their Apple glasses and Samsung will have their Samsung glasses, and we'll walk down the street wearing them. And when you're walking past those shops, and you'll see the offers appear in your vision, and then you'll see a text message or a WhatsApp message appear in your vision in front of you, and you'll see all these things, and you'll be able to talk. You'll talk to your headphones, or you'll talk to your glasses, and you'll say, actually, show me the news. But it won't be the news, it'll be the news tailored to you. It'll show you what's important to you first, not just the general headlines. You know, play that podcast that I like. Podcast 10 years from now will be different from podcast today, because they won't just play, like if someone is a fan of your podcast in 10 years time, maybe they won't play your whole podcast. Maybe they'll just play the most excitable part of your podcast because maybe they'll follow so many podcasts that they'll say, right, play me the summary of my favorite podcasts.
Yeah.
So it'd be like, hey Siri, I've got 20 minutes. Play me a summary of my top 10 favorite podcasts. It could be like that. And then they play the most excitable, extreme, exaggerated element of your podcast, and then all the other 10 podcasts that they like. And that's the worry, that we're over tailoring, and we're just giving people what they want to see and what they want to have.
Yeah.
That's where I fear where we're heading. And I worry that the whole data protection and everything, it isn't going far enough, because beyond the data is what the data does to us, and it's changing us. And our behavior today has been slightly modified to what our behavior was 10 years ago. Our behavior 10 years ago, even though we both may have had an iPhone or a smartphone in 2010, I promise you our behavior is slightly different today than it was 10 years ago, because we are being very slowly, gradually manipulated and changed by algorithms at a level that we don't see, and that the people around us don't necessarily see. And that change may only be a point of a degree, or a point of a percent, every year or so. But we have changed as humans, and we will continue to change.
Okay.
And this comes on to the point of when we say that, when we see around the world that people can't handle disagreeing perspectives anymore. If you believe in one political view and I believe in another political view, 10 years ago, we might be able to have a debate about that, an intelligent debate. Now we can't, 10 years ago, you might have had a belief, that certain people deserve certain rights. And I might have had a belief that those certain people don't deserve certain rights. But we could have a debate about it. Whereas today, we can't. It's like either you're one side and I'm the other.
Yeah.
I have a friend of mine. He's a semi-professional skateboarder. He also DJs in his spare time. He was invited to go and be a DJ at a Sunday market. And I thought it was such a cool thing. He's going to some cool, hip annual Sunday market. And then I checked out the website for this Sunday market, and it said on there quite clearly, progressives welcome. And so my point is that when I talk about a blended world, it's impacting the real world now. Like, since when has a Sunday market, which sells secondhand goods and food and drink and whatever, and plays music, since when does a Sunday market have to be politicized and be like, okay, progressives are welcome, but no one else is welcome?
Yeah.
So, and that's my worry. My point is, the overall impact of the world we're in now is that we can no longer look over the garden fence at each other and have an intelligent debate and disagree. Like, so what if we disagree? So what if you get offended about something, or if I get offended about something? If you're offended, you're offended. You're still okay. It's just being able just to have that disagreement and be able to see the perspective of the other person. And we can't do that anymore. And the worry is that even with all these data protection laws that are put in place, even if our governments have better control over our data, still, until you control your data and I control my data, our data can be compromised. If your government controls your data, but Facebook doesn't control your data, it's still someone controlling your data.
True.
And then if your government controls the data, then they decide how much of a right they have over your data. Can they look into your iCloud? Can they get personal photos from your iCloud? What if you're a famous actor or actress in Bollywood? Can they get your photos from iCloud? And can they use that against you? Can they then say that you're a drug addict when maybe you're not? Maybe you only smoked something once, you know? Can the government do that? And that's the problem.
Yeah.
Until we control our data personally, then it becomes like your data should be something that you have a right to sell. And if Google say to you, oh, we want to give you free subscription to YouTube Premium for the next 12 months, but actually in exchange for that, we want to have access to your phone data, then it's your choice that your data is worth something.
Yeah.
So yeah, my actual view is that really we'll be fine the day that we control our data, not whatever government controlling it. Governments are still entities. It's got to be. We have to have control over our own personal data.
All right, Mr. Jag, thank you so much.
Thank you for giving me the time.
Hope you enjoyed this 2-part series. You can reach me at Maharani Talks on Instagram and at Mahati Rangarajan on LinkedIn. Take care.